everyone. Yeah. First off, I'm honored to be here among amazing people who are shaping the future of products and design in the industry. So I begin by saying, my name is Joboson CHISAOKWU JOBOSON in full. And for a lot of people who would probably know me from Twitter, they will say that I cosplay as a 5'7", short, troublesome design individual. But that's not the reality of things. I'm 6 foot, first off. And I see myself as a mindful and demure designer in real life. Yeah, that's QC. However, I would identify as a brand and type designer who creates for unique brands and also people. And this is a bit of, a little reel of my work. Yeah, and this is like the 150th logo I've done of myself. Yes. So I've been able or opportune to work with a couple of brands, both big and small, from various industries, from education to fintech to open source, typography, healthcare, and the likes. And today, I kind of like thought about the best title for this particular conversation when I got reached out to. In a way, I would cater for both branding and typography because over time, I've kind of transitioned into typography or type design. I have a certain foundry called UDI, and what we do, we create, or I create African, like, contemporary typefaces, all right? So, and I did think about what would be the best conversation to have. And I felt it would be best to just have a conversation on the fantastic inspirations and where to find them, where we'll be uncovering creative sources for branding and type. I would also like to point out that I was inspired, or this topic was inspired by this particular book, which also is a movie by J.K. Rowling's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's also important that because thinking about design, I feel design is magic. For most parts anyways. And I see creative people as, I'll call them wizards, magicians. And we have this kind of wand which which could be our software, and we cast spells which kind of transforms into designs we make. And for most parts, when we do those things, it's always kind of begins from, say, the spells we cast are as a source of creative inspirations we have, all right? And I feel like inspiration matters. I don't think there's ever a great person or creative mind who has existed who would say they have not been inspired by something to create. I also believe that inspiration kind of drives authenticity. In what we create, most people would say, they created from scratch and whatnot, but you were inspired by something, especially when it's many sources. And, well, this is a list of things I'm inspired by. One, my mom, because she's a great person. Another thing I'm inspired by is by music. I love music so much, and most of the lyrics kind of resonate with me, and I feel like it's a very beautiful form of art or expression where you can relate to certain things someone is saying. Yes, I'm inspired by money. I mean, who isn't? Passion can only get us so far. I'm also inspired by everyday life, by the nature, the environment we find ourselves in. I'm inspired by purpose because I feel like we are here for a reason. I also feel like we design with purpose in mind. I'm inspired by storytelling because I feel like and this is my take on every great design there's a bit of great storytelling to it, you know. I'm inspired by Africa, the culture, the tradition, the art, the people, and the diversity which we have. I'm also inspired by the works of other creatives, which is very important. And finally, I'm inspired by excellence. So I would be going through some of my works and how I got the inspiration behind them. This first one would be Brand Street Africa, the rebrand, and it's more of an inspiration. The whole rebrand was an inspiration from the road views, street signs, and the traffic lingua. So Brand Street Africa is a certain community which we founded to help African designers, African brand designers in person, to kind of elevate, create that community, help people to get better in their craft and whatnot. And when I founded this, the idea was to think of a destination. You know, you want to go to a certain place, there's always a location, you know. And initially it was 234 Branch Street, so there was a number to that location. Afterwards, we felt we would just call ourselves Branch Street Africa. It's easier on the tongue. And again, it's a destination. So we felt like in doing this free brand, it would have a bit of persona when it comes to the street lingua. You know, that, oh, you're going somewhere, okay, how do you navigate to that certain place? So, yeah, we thought about how we can be inspired by street signs, by road views, you know, by the traffic lights and whatnot. And so we also felt it would be nice to kind of put a bit of, maybe on a typeface, for instance. And we're like, okay, maybe we should have something condensed as a typeface. The colors was definitely, it would have a street vibe to it. Maybe we could play around with the traffic lights. Also, maybe it could have a bit of directional sign towards it. And for the identity, we thought about a perspective, a street view. So everything kind of moves into the horizon. And that was kind of what kind of shaped the identity where, okay, this is a horizon moving into a certain point and also just Branch Street. Then for the typeface, we named this street Condensed Sans. And it's kind of in two ways. One is a display, one is, you know, is a normal font. And if you notice, there's the O. We felt like, oh, the O would be nice if we played around it. Say, this circular get ready, stop, what's it called? Sign. Then the T, we could play around it, make it directional, you know. And that was the idea towards this. Then you would notice certain letters, we felt it would be nice to have a certain flow. Like, oh, imagine a car moving towards or moving in the direction of those typefaces or those glyphs per se. How would it look? So we kind of like fixed round, like make the curves feel navigatable. This is kind of like a cross section. Yes, a crossroad. There's also a wide junction per se. Yeah, and this was the actual outcome. Yeah, thank you. The second Ojuju typeface. This was, and it was inspired by my childhood memories of African masquerades. So I was born in Lagos, but I did have opportunities to, travel to the east, my hometown, and every time I did, there was always this fascinating thing where, there's always a festival, and there's a masquerade somehow, and I do see like masquerades over here, the Eyo and whatnot, and there was always something different but yet also similar. There was always this thing where they're either chasing people, or dancing or moving in a very eccentric way or manner. And when I thought about having to create a typeface, when Google reached out to me for a commission fund, I was like, perhaps I could do what I can't remember why I thought about wanting to create a typeface about over like a masquerade, but at that point in time, I think I was having maybe dreams of masquerades, maybe they were chasing me or something. I won't be able to tell. But Ojuju basically is this Afro-grotesque kind of reverse contrast. So reverse, like normally you have typefaces that as they expand to the side. Ojuju expands the other way around, so that's reverse contrast. And it has a variable weight, basically. And so the inspiration were masquerades. And you will notice the contours, there's always this thing with how they look mean. You can tell that, oh, they are either not seeing you or they are squeezing their faces, or they are eye wide open. So that was the nature of how we wanted Ojuju to be created, that, if it's going to, say, expand its contours, maybe from wide to a little bit like almost closed. And there was always this, we're trying to think of how some of the letters could, say, dance. I think that would be the best word to put. And also, it's also important to note that some of the letters, when I was doing my research, some of the letters came off from this particular poster. It's a movie, 1958, by Usman Sembede, I guess, yes. And it was very crude. When we saw it, we were like, this is very crude. And we wanted ours to kind of feel rounded in a way, not so harsh. But you can tell that, you see this and you're like, this is mean. This kind of gives that Ojuju vibe. Yeah. So start off with the drawings. Initially, I wanted it to just be basic heavyweights, like bold, extra bold, whatnot. But we had conversations and they were like, there's a possibility of making it a variable font, moving from extra light to extra bold. And we're like, yeah, let's see how it goes. This was also one of the initial drawings for the K. The K was a problem. It was a big problem, but this was one of the initial drawings for it. And yeah, this is the weight moving up from the extra light to the extra bold. And you kind of notice in this letters, we wanted the stem to kind of feel tapered. It's not straight. So it's like it kind of opens up at the ends. Same with the H and some other letters, the P. Every letter with a stem basically had that kind of feel to it. And yeah, when we talked about letters dancing, this was what we kind of meant. We wanted the K to, have its leg moving some kind of way. We wanted the M to kind of flow in a way. We wanted that certain flow. Same thing with the N, the tail of the Q. We wanted to like flow too. The R took the same shape with the K. The S, the spine. This S was a very big problem. My goodness. Now that I remember, it was a very big problem. And the Y. And yeah, this was the outcome. Sorry. Yeah, that was how it looked at the end. Yes. So now to the question, fantastic inspirations, where do we find them? I would first say that we can actually find them immersed in culture and art. And it's I think right now where we are kind of stagnant with inspiration or where to find those kind of inspiration, given that everyone is almost doing the same thing, minimalism, this, that, gradient and whatnot. I feel for most part, we can get back to the roots, and one beautiful thing is that we as Africans, we have such diverse roots, such diverse culture where we can tap from. I also like to point out certain explorations I've been having over time. I thought about randomly Gidigbo, this Yoruba kind of fights, and I thought about how could transform to a typeface. Imagine a typeface being distorted in such a way, like you're punching the I from different corners, or you're hitting the G or the B, and that kind of formed a basis or inspiration towards what Gidigbo can be like. We also know about, Simbi, and back then, everyone used to have this puff hairstyle, when life was easy. Yeah. And I kind of thought about reflecting that as a slab serif, where it's kind of rounded. Also, I kind of realized that Simbi is a word it's a word for, or a name for a river and water, a river and iron goddess, I think so, of one religion then in ancient Africa. I think they still practice it anyways. But, having to see those things kind of, how they can be referred back to our culture, or our arts, I think it's something worth exploring, also worth being inspired by. Another way I feel we can find fantastic inspiration is when, it's still like having to look at what has been and think of what could be. So we refer to the past and we see how the future can be shaped with that. Another way would be in our everyday life. I think it's very evident where we can be inspired by anything and everything. For reference, I would put this too. So this first one was, this crave. Everyone was going crazy. Everybody in the creative industry were going crazy with this Kira's hairstyle, And I thought about how it would be as a typeface, And in the heat of that moment, I came up with this. I felt like, yeah, it's something possible when you're just inspired by something that happens randomly every day. This second was a certain brand design identity I did for May Maxwell Schools. Yeah, and I think for this inspiration, especially the scribbles, it was me watching my nephew do his assignments, and at that point in time, I think he was coloring at some point. I gave him something because he helped me with this in a way, and I guess he would never know. But, but it was like him scribbling. I was like, yeah, it would be nice to have a certain pattern that kind of flows in that direction, So I feel like it's very, most times the inspiration we seek would come from around or even within us. You never know. You just need to listen. You need to be open. You need to, make everything take its course. Finally, I think we can, find fantastic inspiration by fantastic association. I don't have a slide for this, but I feel it's very important to surround yourself with fantastic things, fantastic thoughts, and also fantastic people. I'm sure you guys already have one here, so that's cool. And yeah, that's the end. Thank you.